Can I ask you a weather-related question that I don't know the answer to, but I think you probably will? This isn't even, like, about the weather specifically, but there were all of these notes the university sent out that were like, do not park on the top of the parking garage. If your car is on the parking garage, move it below. It's the idea that if it snows so much and cars are on the roof, that, like, the parking garage will collapse.
I think it's more about, like, protecting the cars. Oh, structural risks. While rare, severe, heavy, wet snow loads could affect the top deck more than lower levels. Yeah, so I think it's like they don't want your car to get stuck up there.
Yeah.
Because that's not good. And then there is the chance of, like, the thing that you exactly just described. But I think it is more that, like, if your car, like, freezes on top of a building, it's going to take a few days for it to, like, unfreeze and, like, to be able to move it. Like, your car is going to get stuck there if you don't. And which is not good for the parking garage either, to have just a bunch of cars stuck up there for days and days on end.
Well, and that's probably a pain to try to, like, tow them all the way down the parking garage if that has to happen or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is tangentially related. One of my favorite videos we made on SciShow last year was this one about why it always rains on the weekends because specifically in the East Coast of the United States. Like, it really did for a long time feel like, okay, every weekend it is raining. What is going on? And it wasn't like people weren't crazy. It was just like the weather patterns were such that, like, it was always raining on the weekends. And it was such, like, a validating video because it was one of those times where, like, really nicely, like, we had all noticed a phenomenon that was happening and science, like, validated it. And it wasn't, like, psychological bias. Like, you only notice it rains on the weekend because it's, like, ruining plans. Like, no, like, it genuinely was actually happening. And that just, isn't always the case. So it was really nice to have everyone's anxieties and, like, annoyances be, like, validated. And I'm glad we made a video about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of annoyances being validated, hello and welcome to Informed Attraction, a podcast hosted by one drunk dad at a baseball game and one person who is secretly Lord, a podcast about how the greatest character on a show about children is sometimes an adult. I'm Dr. Aubrey Hoffer.
I'm Mackenna Goodrich, and I do think in this instance I'm one drunk dad at a baseball game. Because I think scale of likelihood of one of us being drunk at a baseball game, it's me. I don't think Aubrey, not an uncommon place to find me is at a baseball game, and I do love a good beer. So I do think that's more likely. And Aubrey might be secretly Lord.
I mean, you've never seen a picture of me and Lord together.
No.
There is a photo of me when I was thin before a Lord concert. Did me and India talk about that when we were on? She sent me a picture of me and her before we saw Lord, and she was like, look, we're both skinny here. And we were like, ah.
I didn't realize you guys saw Lord together.
Yes, we saw Lord together. And then I'm just going to say this because it's been years now, so I can finally say this. India did not tell me after we saw Lord that she was expecting me to drive her home. And she lived like an hour away. And I was like a little bit mad that I drove her home.
Oh no.
And it's fine. It's fine. I actually don't remember. She might have actually paid for the Lord tickets.
Yeah.
So I think that probably makes sense that I was the ride.
Yeah. But it is the surprise I have to drive to Fountain Hills, Arizona is never fun.
I'm so nostalgic for Fountain Hills, Arizona, because I met some of my best friends in my life there, but it's a place that there's really no reason to be.
No, and it was like you just were on the highway for forever. Like, every night after the show and when we moved to rehearsing there after we had been rehearsing at AYT, me and Annie would be driving home for like an hour every single day. And I think Annie had her driver's license at this point. And so she was doing some of the driving, which was great because I think if I had to drive an hour back and forth every day alone, or even with her, I would have gone insane. But I think she had her driver's license and we were using that tiny little SUV that she used to have.
Yeah. I think that the best kind of hear me out is when you have a hear me out that you didn't even know was a hear me out. And as I have found in the past few weeks, saying that you think Randy Marsh from South Park is hot is a really hot take for reasons I still don't fully understand.
Yeah, I think maybe because of his vibes.
That is what I find attractive about him.
No, I know, Aubrey, I know that. But I think it's his vibes.
I think it's to the average person, to the uncultured.
Yeah. So the first piece of, we're talking about Randy Marsh, talking about South Park today. My first interaction with anything South Park related was watching a streamer, and I don't even remember who it was at this point. I watched a streamer play through the Stick of Truth. Mm-hmm. And I knew what South Park was, but I had never seen South Park, but I had watched a streamer play through the Stick of Truth. And I think it's in the Stick of Truth where Randy is like pulling the new kid who you're playing aside to like train them in karate or whatever. And that's like the ongoing plot with Randy in the Stick of Truth. I think it's the Stick of Truth where that's happening. Where he keeps pulling you aside to like teach you karate.
That's amazing.
And so that was how I got introduced to him was that video game.
I should play the Stick of Truth. You know what, guys? Send us an email here at informedattraction@gmail.com. And one day when me and Mackenna have a Patreon, we will play through the Stick of Truth.
Because I've watched two streamers play through the Stick of Truth. Because I watched, the first person I watched, I wish I could remember who it was. Maybe I'll try to like look through my archives and figure out who the fuck the first streamer I watched play Stick of Truth was. But I watched a streamer play through it. And then I recently watched the streamer who I've mentioned before on the podcast, KYR Speedy. I watched him play through both Stick of Truth and Snow Day, the more recent game.
So today is my defense of Randy Marsh and why it's okay that I am attracted to him specifically. I know that a lot of people are like, ew, South Park. And I was very much ew, South Park for many years because it was a show that my brother and random douchebag guys who I knew at school liked. But when I was in high school, I went through a phase where I watched it on Comedy Central every day after school. And it became very endeared to me from that. I want to be clear that this episode is not really a defense of South Park in general. My views on the show South Park is that I think it actually does have moments where I think it is genuinely hilarious, genuinely insightful, and genuinely good satire. And I think it has a lot of moments where it is just stupid. And I think it has a lot of moments where it is like actively harmful to society.
Yeah. I think my update is I'm pretty sure it was PewDiePie who I watched play the Stick of Truth for the first time, which is crazy. Because I never even really watched PewDiePie, but like looking through like people who have done playthroughs of it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was, I think I watched PewDiePie play through the Stick of Truth for some fucking reason 11 years ago.
Have I ever told you that I was in like the first like 100,000 PewDiePie watchers?
That's crazy. Oh my god, you're an OG. Yeah.
I was an OG PewDiePie fan.
Wow. That's impressive, honestly.
Barrels. Everybody remember that?
Oh yes, I remember the barrels.
Yeah, anyway, I am so unplugged from PewDiePie that I just know that there's been controversy. I don't know what has happened. And I don't care to learn.
Okay, great. I won't say anything then.
Great. So today's episode is really a character study of Randy, where he came from, and basically my hypothesis that I think he has basically become the main character of the show. I am going to say that the way I structured this is I was basically like, oh, who is Randy? Oh, what role do I think he takes in South Park? And then I was like doing some internal reflection on like, why am I attracted to this character who like other people think it's like strange to be attracted to? And I ended up reading several academic articles about like attraction and physical attractiveness. And this is, I've got a big tangent about that. So this episode is also going to be a little bit of edutainment about, I don't know, like psychology and sociology too.
I love when we accidentally do academic research about the silliest of topics. I think the most academic reading I've done for any of these episodes was for the first series.
Yeah.
When I read so many papers about bunnies.
Well, I think that if I can put our episodes into different kind of categories, I think we have some where we're just sort of summarizing a phenomena that we've noticed. I think some where we're like doing some kind of level of analysis or critique. And then I do think we have some where it's like more of an investigative, like academic, why is this a thing that exists?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because I did a fair amount of academic reading for. I tried for the Family Guy one, but I couldn't really find anything. And then I did a fair amount of reading as well for the Goth Girlfriends one, and I read a lot of like news articles for the plastic surgery one.
So who is Randy Marsh? First, you have to ask, what is South Park? Because Randy Marsh is a character from South Park.
Aubrey, I have to ask, what is South Park? Because Randy Marsh is a character from South Park.
Great. South Park is an American animated show created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone that centers around 4 boys, Stan Marsh, Kyle Broflovsky, Eric Cartman, and Kenny McCormick, and their misadventures in their hometown of South Park, Colorado.
Fascinating to start the list of the boys with Stan.
Well, I feel because it's a Randy episode.
Okay. It just was so funny. It's like I was so expecting you to start focusing on Eric Cartman and then the other 3, and then Cartman came third.
See, and I don't even think that Cartman is... I think in terms of, like, importance to the plot,
yeah.
I think Cartman is, like, the 3rd most important character.
I will admit at this juncture, I have seen, I think, 4 episodes of South Park.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a bit.
I've seen the superhero ones. I saw
and those are the worst to me.
Is it the Christmas one where one of them stumbles upon the satanic animal cult?
Yes.
I watched that episode, and I watched the one that you had me watch for today.
I did. So Randy Marsh is the father of Stan. He is married to his wife, Sharon. They are the parents of Stan, and they also have a daughter named Shelley. I'm not going to talk too much about Randy's relationship with Sharon. I'm just going to say that they... much like most of Randy's arc, they start off as just like a normal mom and dad, and then things get different as the show goes on. Basically, he and Sharon have a kind of weird relationship where I always perceive Sharon as being kind of like annoyed, ashamed, or just like disgusted by Randy. But then they do have moments where I think they are actually together and care for each other. They've been on the brink of or actually divorced or separated multiple times in the show. Randy essentially serves as a comic relief for the show, which is a crazy role to fill in a comedy.
Yes.
The character of Randy is basically a love letter to Trey Parker's father, who is a geologist named Randy.
Aww.
Randy in the show is a geologist. He is also voiced by Trey Parker, and he is depicted in the tradition of South Park's animation style of simple geometric shapes, animated with the use of a computer, and rendered to mimic the appearance of construction paper cutout compositions, animated through stop motion, which was the original technique that was used in the short films and pilot of South Park.
This is a quick tangent about geologists.
Mm-hmm.
I work for a science YouTube channel. I spend a lot of time looking at papers and things like that. Geologist, shout out one time. I'm not a rocks guy, but you guys are doing some really cool research. You have to get better at drawing figures. The figures in geology papers are fucking nonsensical, and you have to it feels like I'm being pranked every time I look at a geology paper. I don't understand why geologists cannot draw figures in a way that makes sense to literally anybody. And I feel almost firm in saying, including other geologists, they are nonsensical. Geologists, I need you to get better at doing figures. Why have all the other sciences figured it out and you guys can't figure it out? Do better.
What sort of figures are in a geology paper? I've never read
nonsensical ones.
Great. Isn't that a joke in Big Bang Theory that they, like, hate geologists?
Yes.
Hilarious.
I'm, like, the known rock hater on my team because I don't find rocks that interesting. But, hey, we've had some banger episode about rocks. People love the SciShow Rocks box. I can appreciate rocks from afar, but anytime someone starts talking about rocks, I'm like, la 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 la.
Yeah, I've got no interest in rocks, unfortunately. Minerals, on the other hand.
What do you mean?
Because minerals are, like, pretty. That's like gems and shit.
Those are still rocks.
I don't know about that.
Those are still rocks.
I don't know about that.
I do.
Well, you know what? Fuck it. I guess I do
you just like rocks when
rocks.
You like rocks when they're pretty.
Yeah.
You're a appearancist when it comes to rocks.
Yeah. You know those videos where people put rocks in, like, the tube thing with water and they spin it a bunch and then it shines them?
Yeah.
I like that. I like
Hell
when that happens.
Great.
What is a mineral then?
Okay. I'm having a mineral is just like a inorganic substance that like is solid and appears in nature. Like a mineral is Aubrey is actually right that minerals and rocks are different. I should not have been so glib as to say this because minerals are like the one thing. Like you have like a thing. A thing is a mineral. And then when you have a bunch of those things together, that is a rock. So a bunch of different minerals make up a rock.
You know what? I don't know enough about geology to fact check Mackenna, nor do I care to do any Googling.
Here's the thing. I also could be wrong, but I am pretty sure that like rocks are like aggregates of like a bunch of one or more. Well, I'm having like a square rectangle like existential crisis about rocks, and also I don't care about rocks enough to know this definition. But I think all minerals fall under the category of rock, but rocks include things that are not also minerals. If that makes sense.
Geologist listeners, send us an email at informedattraction@gmail.com and tell us if that was correct.
Okay, and I'm sorry if it wasn't. Again, I don't care about it. I care about it. I think that geologists are doing important work. I just can't personally engage in it. It's kind of how I feel about a lot of space stuff, where I'm like, I don't care.
I like a space thing every now and then. I like an ocean thing more.
Oh, I love an ocean thing. I'm all about the ocean.
Yeah. Anyway, Randy Marsh on South Park has black hair, a mustache, and a cleft chin. He carries some pens in one of his two front pockets of his light blue collared button-up shirt, dark gray pants, and when his pants are off, which is relatively often, he does wear briefs.
Yes.
Have you ever met a man who wears briefs?
Yeah.
Really? I've never met a man who wears briefs.
Yeah. I'm not going to expand. I'm just going to say yeah.
Great.
So the episode that Aubrey had me watch this episode, all the kids are playing baseball, which means they don't have their like regular hats on that they're normally wearing in the show. And I just forgot that Stan also had black hair, and it was so jarring.
Yeah, so
anytime I see Cartman's hair, I kind of am like, oh, what the fuck's happening?
So I will skip ahead slightly because I had Mackenna watch episode 5 of season 9 called
The Losing Edge.
And essentially the idea for this episode came from Trey Parker and Matt Stone thinking that the children of South Park would look cute if they were in baseball uniforms. And they do. They look absolutely adorable. Parker and Stone are not baseball fans themselves, so they thought it would be funny to have all the boys hate baseball. Interestingly, going ahead with this episode created a lot of animation problems because most of the kids look identical when they wear the uniforms. So they had to spend a lot of time actually making sure that each character was distinguishable from each other. So for example, Butters and Stan look identical when they wear the baseball uniforms. So to rectify this, they make Stan's hair more prominent than Butters, and Butters has a speaking line early in the episode to establish like who is who.
Yeah. Is your dog named after Butters?
Everybody asks me this. No, she's not named after Butters from South Park, although I feel the same maternal love for him that I feel toward Butters.
Jacob Elordi.
And Jacob Elordi. That I did watch Frankenstein, and that was solidified for me that I feel immense maternal love toward him. Every picture that I see of him and Margot Robbie doing Wuthering Heights, I am like, get him a sweater. If he's cold, you're cold. Or if you're cold, he's cold. Anyway, no, so Butters, her legal name is Butterscotch. That was her name that she was given at the adoption facility. And she just looks like a Butters.
Yes, she does.
The only thing is sometimes I refer to her as Butter, and I think her name really is Butters. Butter is like the name I call her when she's naughty. So my main sort of hypothesis for this episode is that Randy kind of becomes the main character of South Park at a certain point, but his character is really fascinating to me because he really doesn't come into his own until the show has been on for almost 10 years.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was surprised when you were like, I think this is the episode that it sort of establishes his arc, and then you were like, season 9, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so just giving credit where it's due, a video a few years ago from YouTube channel Nerdstalgic details essentially the exact point that I am making. So I am heavily inspired by their video that I saw a few years ago, which just makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm just kind of following some of their logic there. But basically, for most of the early series, Randy is presented as an extremely normal parental figure and is not really a major contributor to the overarching narrative. His first appearance in the show is on the second episode of season 1, Volcano, where he is monitoring a seismometer? Is that what you call it? Seismometer?
Seismometer.
A seismometer.
I'm saying that so confidently, and I'm not totally sure because that is one of those words that I've only read, but I think it's seismometer.
And he's basically really inept and kind of causes downtown Denver to be destroyed. The thing I think is interesting is that in this episode, he's just like the facilitator of the impending disaster, and he's not even established as Stan's dad in that episode.
Okay.
He's just like, oh yeah, this scientist is talking, and then it's not until episode 5 that he's revealed to be Stan's dad.
Okay.
So it's just like, oh yeah, that geologist from a couple episodes, that's actually Stan's dad.
For those who were wondering what a seismometer was, it's the thing that records and like detects and records ground motion during earthquakes. The seismograph is the whole like instrument. The seismometer is the sensor and the recording device which produces the seismogram. And that's your geology lesson for the day.
So really, Randy doesn't do a lot for the early seasons of South Park. Like, you know, his character is just not, to me, really getting established. Like in season 2, he briefly divorces Sharon, and there's like an episode where it's like him as the divorced dad. There's an episode in season 3 where he stops the town citizens from lighting themselves on fire with their own farts because it is South Park.
Are any of the kids who are like the main 4, are any of their parents like divorced?
No. So basically,
yeah,
Cartman has a single mom.
Yep.
Kenny has like low income parents, but they're together. Kyle's parents are together. And so I think that's like, they use the Marsh family as like any time there's like marital discontent or people separating. I also think maybe it was Trey Parker, but it could be Matt Stone, who at some point got divorced like during like while South Park was airing, because it's been airing for like 25 years. And there's like a South Park arc about divorce that is probably heavily inspired by that experience.
Yeah. Much like in the Santa Claus.
Yes. But for the most part, for, I would argue, the first 9 seasons of South Park, he is mainly the straight man to the comedic characters of the show. Like, he's really just there to be, like, Stan's dad, to remind Stan that his actions have consequences, or to be sort of like the parental figure, or give warnings or punishment. And that really changes with season 9, episode 5, The Losing Edge.
Yep.
Mackenna, with the notes that you took, do you want to describe the episode and give me your thoughts, or do you want me to kind of go through the synopsis and you can give your input as we go?
I have a plot synopsis, so I can read my plot synopsis.
Tell me what happens in this episode.
Okay, great. So we open on a baseball game. All of the kids are really bored because baseball is boring. I disagree with that sentiment, but whatever. That's the whole conceit of the episode. Randy fights another dad. Stan is the pitcher. He strikes the last kid out. They win the game, and the kids celebrate because they think they're done with baseball. They think like the season's over, and they're like, it's over. We can go back to having fun now. But then it's revealed that they actually go on to like the regional finals where they play a bunch of different teams from all over Colorado. And Randy gets arrested for getting into a fight in the baseball game. And the kind of the problem of the episode is that the South Park team just is really good, so they keep winning.
And they don't want to be good. Like these
That's
kids,
why it's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, they hate baseball, and so they're like, we don't want to be on this team. We don't want to be playing this. So they tell the other team, like, here's what we're going to do, and then they just win.
Well, because that's the other thing too, is that both teams of kids don't want to win. So like whenever they're like the kids are like trash talking each other, they're like, you're gonna beat us so hard, you're gonna fucking cream us. Yeah, so both teams of kids are trying to lose at all of these games, but the South Park keeps winning and Stan keeps getting in fights. There's a scene after they have won the first game we see where the other dads warn Randy that the dads in the regional division might be harder to fight. So Randy resolves to train so that he can beat up any dad, and we get this like Rocky training arc throughout the rest of the episode. So then the kids find out that if they win the state championship, they have to spend their whole summer playing baseball because they start playing teams around the country. And they go to places they'll have to go to places like Wyoming and Nebraska and Iowa. And they're like, no. So it comes down to the South Park team and the team from Denver. And there's an insane dad for the Denver team in a weird Batman costume who gets arrested during the news piece about the game and also says I'm coming for you, Marsh. He specifically threatens to fight Randy. They call in Kyle's cousin from New York, also named Kyle, to help them lose. There's a scene of Randy alone in Coors Field and then on the beach, and then he goes back to the house and tells Sharon that he can't go to the game because he's too nervous about the big fight. And Sharon's like, okay, well, you don't have to get into a fight. You can just go to your kid's game and be fucking normal and not get drunk and get into a fight. And Randy's like, I know you're just saying that because you want me to believe in myself. And she's like, no, I'm telling you that you need to stop getting into fights at baseball games. And then during the game, the South Park team is just absolutely crushing Denver. It's 23-0 or something. And while this is all happening, everyone is getting really annoyed with the Bat Dad's trash talk because Randy's not there, so there's no one there to shut him up. And then Randy arrives with a tray of 6 beers, and he starts trash talking. The Bat Dad and Randy start fighting. The fight spills into the stadium. It looks like the Bat Dad is gonna win, and the umpires are like, if there's any more fighting, the person who starts it, their team is disqualified. But the kids start to encourage Randy to get back up and start fighting because they want to lose. And so they're like, get up, Randy, we believe in you. And then he knocks out Bat Dad, and the South Park team is disqualified, so they don't have to spend their summer playing baseball.
We both had baseball brothers. Did you ever experience the thing that I experienced of certain families with baseball kids who took that shit way too seriously?
Yeah. Yes, my mom used to specifically. My mom would not get into fights at baseball games because of trash talking. My mom would get into arguments with dads at baseball games because when they would start getting trash talking of these actual children. This was especially a problem when my brothers were playing Little League. Mm-hmm. So, they're 11 years old. And when dads would start getting loud and rowdy at fucking Little League games, my mom would yell at them and be like, stop taking this so seriously. You're being annoying. And there's a baseball fields in Arizona called Big League Dreams, which are all these Little League sized versions of Major League fields, and they sell beer at the games.
Oh my God.
I remember every time there was a big League Dreams game, my mom would get into some argument with some dad because some dad would get drunk and start yelling about fucking 12-year-olds playing baseball. My mom was like, shut the fuck up. They're kids.
Honestly, she's a queen for that. I never witnessed anyone really getting into fights, but there was just so much internal politics of my brother's Little League teams where it was the guy who was the coach, his son was on the team, but then that guy's wife was kind of also the head bitch in charge of all the moms. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, both my brothers played baseball all the way through college, and I think no one missed the internal parent politics of the Hamilton High School baseball team by the time my brothers had both graduated, because that stuff was very prevalent even through high school for them.
Yeah. So, there's plenty of videos online of especially specifically drunk dads getting into fights at their kids' Little League games. And so this episode is essentially a parody of that thing happening.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's the first time in the show that we see Randy act in such a absolutely ridiculous way to the point where it's a little bit out of character for him in the show, but then he just never reverts back to the way he was before. This just kind of becomes his character now. My favorite part of the episode is the very first fight that Randy gets into. He gets arrested. And
he gets arrested every time he gets into a fight.
Yes, but Trey Parker just goes full send with the absurdity of what he's saying, where he's like, "Isn't this America? I'm sorry.
Is this a free country?
I thought this was America."
Every time he gets arrested, it is some semblance of, "I thought this was a free country, man."
And it's just so funny.
The other notes I had about it that were not plot based were I got an ad for Hamilton the musical while watching South Park on Paramount Plus, and I thought that was pretty funny. the South Park theme song is really good, and I don't think this is, is it always where you can like see the hands cutting paper dolls? Is that how every intro is?
Yeah. At least
Oh,
in
it
the
is?
earlier seasons, yeah.
Okay, maybe I just haven't seen any like early South Park, but I really liked like the paper doll opening sequence. I just love that the problem was that the team was really good, because that's sort of like subversive for how it normally is on South Park.
Yeah.
And I think that like also like the whole thing, there's like a discussion between the kids of like their parents would be really upset if they found out they were trying to lose, and like the parents are all so excited that like the kids are going to the championship, and obviously like Randy is making, like, he keeps referring to the championship game as his big fight. And I think it just like they did a really good job like thematically in this episode of like this whole the kids playing baseball thing is for the parents entirely and not really about the kids at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that it's really smart. The Nerdstalgic video gets into this as like the concept of mapping, and how South Park is really good at like mapping, where it's like you're watching an episode that is about these kids playing baseball, but it's really about these parents and the structures around them.
Yeah.
In his final fight with Bat Dad, that scene is kind of memed now, where he says, "I didn't hear no bell."
Yeah.
That gets memed. So if you've ever seen that, that's where that is from. And I will say, I've never said that out loud, but I have definitely thought that to myself when I would do fighting.
I love that.
Yeah. I think that regardless of what you think about South Park, I think it is so fascinating I think it is a very fascinating show to analyze, because it has been going on for so long. Like, it's been going on for a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fascinating that a character who is now really at the forefront of the show basically didn't get his voice until after the first decade of the show.
Yeah.
So that is Randy's, like, character. It only continues to get more absurd as the show goes on, right? So like Randy has different plots where normally it's like he wants to be like cool and popular, especially to Stan, who finds like that really embarrassing. His main character trait sort of becomes overreacting and obsessively seizing upon irrational ideas and fads, whether it's like himself wanting that or just like getting caught up in mass hysteria. He's like kind of the one where you like, if something is going on, like Randy is a part of it, and usually the one heading like the entire town getting into this thing.
Yeah.
I do want to be clear. Randy has good politics.
Yes, he's like a woke king, isn't he?
Randy voted for Obama. Randy protested the Iraq War. Randy is a king. He is maybe also an alcoholic. But you know what? That's all right. He does get belligerent when he's drunk, and that is something they find very funny on the show. Mainly because it is objectively hilarious whenever Trey Parker is doing drunk Randy.
I feel like they, like, in general, he just, like, there is, like, he's like they do a lot of, like, Vice stuff with him on the show, because isn't he, like, also addicted to, like, jerking off and maybe also to marijuana?
Yeah, so there's one of my favorite episodes with him actually is where he's addicted to porn, and it is hilarious. It's this episode that like essentially parodies like the Great Depression, and like they have to go to this camp and everyone is only allowed to use the computer for like 2 minutes at a time, and essentially Randy sneaks in and then he starts watching porn, and yeah, it's really funny. I also, my favorite arc of his is in season 18, it's revealed that Randy is the pop singer Lord, and that and that most of the Marsh family income just comes from him being Lord rather than being a geologist.
Well, because that's like the other thing is it doesn't. There's like a bunch of reveals about like old, like weird jobs that he's had, right?
Yeah, it's randomly revealed at one point that he can speak Mongolian.
Yeah, like there's just like they just give him like a lot of fucking lore.
Yeah, I mean at one point he was in a boy band.
Yeah.
I mean just hilarious stuff. And this is where things start to take a turn, guys, because this is where I started to ask myself, why am I so attracted to Randy Marsh?
I want to say also like on appearance, like he is like one of the the better looking this is the whole literally like the name of our show we talked about in the very first episode came from this notion of informed attractiveness, and South Park is a show where they have to do informed attractiveness because everyone is kind of drawn the same way, and so you have to like say if a character is attractive for the most part. And but like all things considered, like Randy's like a tall normal looking dude for the most part. He's got a cunty little mustache, but he's just kind of a freak.
And I love a freak. What can I say?
That's what I mean. Like, it is me knowing you, it is not shocking at all that Randy Marsh does it for you.
I think it's just like game recognize game, because I seek to embody that kind of like chaotic confidence in my day-to-day.
Yeah. And I think that's like, that is, I would say, again, I have seen 4-ish episodes of this show, and I have played the 2 video games. But I think that like I would say before you get into your corkboard conspiracy theorying, I think the Randy confidence is like a huge part of the attractiveness thing, because he's just like balls to the wall all the time, and just like he really goes for it.
So that's the thing, right? Like, I think we've talked about this before on this show, that we think that we think that confidence tends to supersede conventional looks when it comes to attraction.
Yeah.
And so this is what made me want to go on a rabbit hole about what is the empirical research on this topic of whether confidence supersedes conventional beauty standards.
Mm-hmm.
And there's surprisingly little in the field of attraction research about how self-confidence impacts whether other people find you attractive. That's very interesting to me, because I think that's a widely held cultural belief that being confident makes you attractive to other people. But there's not really like literature to support that claim, and I think that that's fascinating. Essentially, the strongest peer-reviewed literature tends to find the opposite, which is that physical attractiveness predicts other people's judgments more directly than, like, anything else.
I mean, I think that that's probably true on like first blush. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I can galaxy brain out for a second, I think there is like your first initial because we do be judging books by their fucking covers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your first blush is gonna be, do I like how this thing looks? And then there's things you can do to overcome that. And I think confidence is one of the ways that you can overcome that. But there is the initial, it's the thing of like, you know, on dating apps, even when you have something like Hinge where there's like, you know, there's prompts and shit like that. I guess like every dating app has prompts now. But like, you're still mostly making your judgments based on, do I like what this person looks like? Does their appearance and their answers give me a good vibe off of a first impression? And you're not that invested in it because all you're doing is swiping left and right. And then when you go on a first date, that how they look is still very important, but now you're also incorporating more information about like, do I get along with them into your like defining of how much you like this person. And then like the more and more that you get to know them, I think the how much you find them physically attractive becomes less and less important, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think that's what is really interesting when you think about how do we research topics that are so kind of just like complex and multifaceted, because to do that research, right, you have to actually try to like quantify like the components of of attractiveness and how you measure that and whether that changes over time or like, you know, first glance versus after you get to know somebody.
Right.
So the concept of attractiveness has long been studied in various disciplines. So like there's a lot of attractiveness research in psychology, evolutionary biology, interestingly a lot in like business management, because there's a lot of research about how being attractive can make you like more professionally successful.
I mean, you hear that all the time, especially about like men in height. Like tall men are much more likely to be professionally successful than shorter men.
Right. It's widely accepted in that literature that attractive people tend to enjoy both social and professional advantages like higher salaries, more positive valuations. But a lot of studies about attractiveness are about more isolated aspects of attractiveness, like things like facial symmetry or grooming habits. Mackenna, how's your Polish pronunciation?
Maybe okay.
I'm going to send you the name of 2 researchers who did this article that I am looking at. So let's see if we can do our best here.
Okay. Oh, well, obviously this is Katarzyna. Ooh, I felt really confident about Katarzyna. Now I'm Wojtaszewicz, Katarzyna Wojtaszewicz, and Marzina Cyper Okay, Katarzyna Wojtaszewicz and Marzena Cyper Jurzovic is what I think, but the R is after.
I know.
Jettersvik, maybe? Cyper Jettersvik. Katarzyna Wojtaszewicz and Marzena Cyper Jettersvik.
Great. I hope you cut out everything before that so it sounds like that was your first attempt.
Let me see if I can also look it up, because sometimes I can get, okay, because I have to do this for work all the time. So let's see if I can find okay. Oh, wait, do you have a how to say Wojtaszewicz? Let's see what the internet says. Wojtaszewicz. So Katarzyna Wojtaszewicz.
Great.
Wojtaszewicz. And then what was the other one? I'm going to go with I killed Cyper. Sorry, this is Mackenna's Polish corner.
Yeah.
Like I got Zabrowski. Let's see. How'd I do on this one? Jedrzejak.
Great.
Katarzyna and Marzina Cyper.
Well, these 2 credible researchers, they published a study last year in the Archives of Sexual Behavior where they tried to take a more comprehensive view of this concept of erotic capital, which refers to the collection of traits that make a person attracted to others in social, romantic, or professional settings.
Also, would be an incredible band name. Holy shit, Erotic Capital?
That honestly probably should have been the name of this podcast, was Erotic Capital.
That people are going to think that we were like romance book people.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That would actually be a great name, though, for a podcast that reviews, like, romantasy books.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Erotic capital was introduced by sociologist Catherine Hakim, and it has 5 elements: beauty, social attractiveness, sexual attractiveness, liveliness, and social presentation. So beauty refers to features like facial symmetry, clear skin, and having a proportional body. Social attractiveness includes friendliness, warmth, empathy, and the ability to connect easily with others. Sexual attractiveness involves a person's sex appeal or charisma.
Do you got a fat dumper?
Yeah. Liveliness refers to a person's energy, humor, curiosity, and optimism, and social presentation refers to how someone styles or presents themselves. I want to make a quick note here that I didn't do a ton of research into Catherine Hakim as a sociologist, but I think there might be some controversy around her because she released a book several years ago called Honey Money, The Power of Erotic Capital, and I saw one review of it where it sounded like this person was saying that in the book, she is arguing that women should exploit their erotic capital in order to get ahead professionally, which seems likely for maybe a book from like 2011.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like that's probably like, I don't know, it's not advice that I think is like fun advice, but it is advice that makes sense in a patriarchal system.
Right. So the researchers the Polish researchers who we shall not say
again, Katarzyna Wojtaszewicz and Marzina Cyper Jurzovic. I'm not saying those right, but I'm locked in.
They found that social attractiveness and liveliness consistently stood out as the most influential dimensions for their participants, whereas traits associated with beauty and sexual attractiveness were often rated lower, especially in professional settings. So basically they looked at these different domains of erotic capital, and then they asked people about sort of how important is it in these different settings, how important it is to you personally, and stuff like that. Their findings had notable gender differences where men tended to place more weight on sexual attractiveness than women did. Women gave higher ratings to things like social warmth, energy, and presentation. Age played a role where younger participants gave more importance to sex appeal and older participants placed greater emphasis on vitality and personal presentations. Most respondents said that beauty was not especially influential in hiring or evaluation decisions, and the researchers noted that these responses diverge from existing literature, which has consistently shown that physical attractiveness does affect employment outcomes, often in ways that people don't consciously recognize. The thing that is difficult about this study is that they asked people point blank what they considered important when it came to attractiveness, and there's a lot of stuff that could be going on, right? So there could be an element of social desirability where people don't want to admit that beauty is really important to them in making decisions about who they spend time with. Or people might assume that conventionally hot people just have more warmth and vitality than they actually
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Or it could just be kind of subconscious and people are like not really connecting the dots that physical attractiveness is as important to them as they say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, to go back to what we were talking about, especially in the first episode of the What Not to Wear series, like, so much of this appearance-based stuff and, like, trying to encourage people to, like, dress professionally did come from, like, the very real thing that, like, people are judged by the clothes that they are wearing. And, like, that doesn't make it right or good that happens, but it is the truth. And I think that's sort of the thing that, like, is a main ethos of our podcast is, like, we don't think it is good that people are judged by their appearance, but, like, all of these things do inform how we feel about people. That, like, all of these indicators from me, it's why I took the whole Meg from Family Guy thing so fucking seriously. It's because if you grow up as a young man hearing that girls who look and are like Meg are ugly, bad, and you should be mean to them, you're going to be mean to girls who look like Meg. And I think that's the same thing that you're kind of talking about here, where it's like, even if you don't think you're someone who focuses on appearances that much, you're still getting all these, like, subtle indicators from society and media and whatever that, like, are going to inform the way that you feel about people.
Right. And you might be like, damn, Aubrey, what did any of that have to do with Randy from South Park? And the point I'm trying to make is, I think that for me, thinking about this idea of erotic capital and thinking about the things that I find attractive, I really think that liveliness of these 5 components of attractiveness is what is really important to me. Like, people who are funny and high energy and just, like, have, as I always say, have an allure to them.
There's an allure.
There's an allure. I'm always saying there's an allure whenever, and people are like, what do you mean? And it's like, there's just sometimes they just got that dog in them.
Aubrey is the definition of, I saw you from across the bar and I liked your vibe, and that vibe was the person who was doing the loudest, most gregarious bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always loved people like that, and I think because I am a person like that, so I think that, I don't know, I'm so drawn to that, especially in media.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I think Randy is hot to me, is I'm just like, yeah, fellas, like, let's fucking, I don't know, cause some chaos in this town.
Just the in the episode we watched, like, just him, like, immediately standing up every time, taking his shirt off and going, you want some of this? I mean, it's very Zabrowskian, to say a Polish name correctly for a second time. Also, I did go and look in our stats while Aubrey was chatting, and we have 5 ever listens from Poland. So I'd like to apologize directly to those 5 listeners, but that's also only 0.14% of our audience. So I think it's going to be okay.
If you are one of the 5, send us an email at informedattraction@gmail.com. We are counting on you.
We are counting on you. And please tell me that you still like me, even though I couldn't say any of your last names correctly, even after looking at pronunciations.
And then this also got me into the thing of, like, am I attracted to Randy because I just tend to find dad sexy?
You do find a dad hot.
And so I have an episode pitch in our list of episode ideas that is basically me doing a series about hot dads in media and what the fuck that means about my mental state. But then I just started to get into another research rabbit hole where I was like, hey, like, what's the fucking deal with thinking dads are sexy? Does that mean I'm fucked up in the head? Because
Sigmund Freud is quaking in his grave right now. He's literally fucking shaking.
Well, you just always hear this idea, and I'm guilty of perpetuating this too, of, like, girls who have bad relationships with their dads, they seek validation from older men. And I will say, I did read an article where it actually found in their sample that early positive relationships with caregivers shaped later partner preferences, in the sense that women who had good relationships with their dads tended to be more attracted to men who resembled their fathers.
That makes sense.
So this is, I can actually probably say this name. This is Wyzewska, 2007. It's from the Journal of Evolution and Human Behavior.
How do you spell that last name?
Wyzewska.
Is this also a Polish last name?
Those
Wyzewska is a Polish name. The Polish people are obsessed with this research.
The Polish people want to understand the secrets of attractiveness, probably
Yes.
because when you think about attractive people globally, I don't think that Poland usually cracks the top 10.
Okay, I'd like to once again apologize to our Polish listeners.
I'm not saying there's not attractive people in Poland, but it's like, if you're thinking about places with stereotypically attractive people, I'm thinking like Brazil, France. I don't know.
Hard disagree on France, but okay.
No, but like I'm thinking like stereotypes. Like if
Yeah,
somebody's like,
I would say like
even like Russian or like the Slavic girls.
see, this is so funny because my first impulse would have been people from like Scandinavian countries.
Oh yeah, and that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tall, beautiful Norwegian women.
And like Korean people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying, is that there are places where
this is going back to that time when you asked me what country do you want to kiss a person from, and it made me genuinely panic for like a full 5 minutes.
Yes. So essentially what Wyzewska and their research team did was that they took the facial proportions of their participants' fathers. Their participants were all women, and they compared their father's facial proportions to the proportions of the faces that their participants found attractive. And essentially what they found was that women in the study who had a more positive childhood relationship with their father had a significantly stronger relationship between the proportions of their father's faces and the stimulus faces than women with worse childhood relationships with their fathers. What is important to note is that women who rated their fathers less highly didn't show any similarity between their fathers and the stimulus faces.
I think a thing that I would draw a distinction though between here is I don't think the stereotype.
It's not looking like it. That's why I'm like, it's like tangential.
It's not because that makes perfect sense to me that like if you have a good relationship with like your any like, you know, I'm gonna take straight women here. If you were or just anyone who is attracted to men, if you have positive relationships with men in your life, it makes sense that you would gravitate towards people who look like that because that's you have a positive association. I think the thing that comes from like the stereotype about like girls who have a bad relationship with their dad is it's less about looking for their dad in specifically. It's looking for any sort of like father figure almost. Your father figure. And I think that like that I would say is like a very clear distinction to me of like, if you have a good relationship with men in your family, you're going to repeat that behavior by looking for people who are like men in your family. And if you don't have a good relationship with your dad, you are going to look at a proxy to fill in that void.
Right. Well, I think that's a really interesting research topic that people are not really researching. And just to be clear, like, I don't think either of us buy completely into this concept that, like, your parents determine, like, your physical attraction to other people. Like, I think that attraction is very complex.
Yeah.
But I do think that early emotional bonds, I think that they do shape what traits you find appealing. And I think that extends to me less in, like, physical appearance to just, like, overall vibe. You know, like if you have a dad and you have a really good relationship with your dad, and growing up, he always played poker. If you are on a date with a guy later in life and he's like, oh yeah, I love to play poker, like, it makes sense that you'd be like, oh my God, like, that's really cool.
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, I think about it in my own life and like less about, I mean, I have a good relationship with my dad and both my brothers, but I think about it less in that way, but like also just like because both my brothers were athletes and my dad was a sports guy and blah, 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 blah. I just was like largely around like large, tall, athletic men growing up, which I think might explain the discrepancy between the two of us in like me being in on the like big meatheady guy and you being like, McKenna, what? No, Channing Tatum, die.
It's because I was raised around that and I was like, these people fucking suck. I mean, me and Josh have both said that our relationships with our family were so bad, we couldn't even consider partners of the same race. We, we had to leave the entire ethnic group behind. Because it was too close.
Yeah.
My next point in the defense of Randy is that fat, soft, middle-aged bodies are hot, and if you don't agree, you're part of the problem! This is what peak male performance looks like, brothers!
This is a McKenna story from this week. I was watching an episode of Actually on Dropout, and there was this guy who was on an episode of it, and I just thought he was handsome. And so I looked him up on Instagram, and he lives in New York. And so I followed him on Instagram, and he followed me back immediately because he only has like 4,000 followers. And like the first clip on his social media is him talking about, let me see if I can actually just exactly find it. I'm not going to say.
Hey, don't say only 4,000 followers. I've got 4,000 followers. That feels like a lot to me.
I mean, it's a lot, but you know, it's not like me like following, trying to seduce someone with 1 million followers. But like one of his like pin things is a stand-up bit of him talking about like his what is it? This is a body built to clamber. This is a body built to emerge from the thick fog of the Scottish moors.
I love that. So also this.
You have no opinions on this? You just want to move on? I thought you were gonna give me an opinion on this man.
Oh wait, sorry. I didn't look him up.
Oh,
I forgot what I was doing for a second. He cute. Again, too big. I don't like them that big. I need them smaller. I need them more teapot-esque.
I need to feel. It's so interesting because you do not have the same complex that I have about wanting to feel tiny.
Yeah, I don't. I think, and that is an interesting thing because I think a lot of women are like, oh, I want to feel like small and petite, and I want him to be able to lift me up or something. And I think I've never been able to be lifted. So I'm just like, it's never even been on the table.
See, and okay, so it like is on the table, but it has now happened in my life. But when I was younger, I think it came from like always being like the tallest, biggest girl, specifically in like dance settings. Mm-hmm. So I was always made to be like the male partner. I was always made to do like the boy shit. And I was like, I want to be one of the girls who gets to do the girl part. I want to do the girl part. And that has like bled into my romantic relationships where I'm like, I want to do the girl part. Don't make me do the boy part.
Yeah, and I think for me, for a cisgender woman, I really do embody that kind of androgyny where I'm just like, I'm just the type of girl who's kind of like a man sometimes.
Yeah, and I am, but just in a different way.
Sometimes girls is men, and that's all right.
Yeah, sometimes girls is men, and that's all right. But sometimes I don't want to do the boy part in the swing dance. I want to do the girl part.
And see, I always wanted to be woman in a tuxedo. I still want to be woman in a tuxedo.
I've been woman in a tuxedo more times than I can fucking count.
I know. What were you? Was it fucking like, what was it? Drowsy Chaperone?
Yes, I was Adolfo in the Drowsy Chaperone. And I had dads of other children in the musical coming up to me, shaking my hand and going, "Great job, young man." And I went, "Thank you."
And that doesn't.
I was 14. It was very formative for me.
That doesn't give anybody a complex.
No,
of course.
Also, because it wasn't the first time. Because I also was the Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz, and the same shit happened then.
I know. Nobody thinks you're a. I mean, I was gonna say nobody thinks you're a boy now, but like, I don't know. That feels like that's like not gender affirming.
I'm being phobe.
I think.
No, I don't think anyone does. I don't think I give boy. I think I give weird little guy, but in a non-binary way.
Yes.
I give boys night, but not boy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. So this also then got me thinking about the whole dad bod thing. And my biggest pet peeve when people started talking about the whole dad bod thing is they would just show like a guy who is muscular but not toned. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here with that.
I sent you the video of when Ed took his clothes off at
yes.
Let's Talk. Number one, whew.
That's a dad bod.
Awooga. That's a dad bod for real. And like awooga. And I was talking to friend of the pod, AJ Diddy, recently, and I was like, I would love to like have them on, but I think I would genuinely get like flustered specifically talking like I think I would get flustered talking to Ed because I think I'm so attracted to Marcus, but I think I could like get past that because I like want to have like I think we're so similar that we would like just get into like a very like yappy conversation. I think I would be very nervous talking to Ed the entire time just I just think he's so handsome.
Here's the thing. I think that over the internet, I could just be so chill. I think that if I saw them in person, I would be beet red.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think I would and like I think it'd be fine. And I think the drive to like do the podcast would overtake and I would be like, no, I gotta be funny. But like I do think I would like specifically I don't know why, but I think specifically with Ed Larson, I would get very, very flustered. And I think it's because he's like a big dude, and I think I'd be like, hey.
I feel like this episode...
I've talked about you being hot on the podcast kind of a lot.
This episode, I feel that anyone who... By the way, if you're like, who the fuck are these people who we've been talking about a lot this episode? We're talking about the host of Last Podcast on the Left. It's a true crime podcast that Mackenna and I both absolutely love. And the hosts are Marcus Parks, Ed Larson, and Henry Zabrowski. And we're just in love with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it this week, and I was like, they were... When me and AJ were talking about it, and... it's just like they were the first, I think, like non-news podcast that I listened to and that like got me into the notion of podcasting.
Yeah.
And I love those little freaks. I saw their live show. It's the only podcast live show I've ever been to was their live show 2 years ago now.
And so, again, this is a sort of tangential article that I found. I just thought it was so interesting. This is a 2018 article by McPherson and team, who are not from Poland, published in the Journal published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology. And essentially, the foundation of this article is there is this premise that people tend to view mothers as more essentialist than fathers. Basically, there's this idea that if somebody is a mother, there is this underlying essence that is immutable and makes somebody a mom, where like mom is a category. Whereas people don't tend to view dads that way. Like mom is in some ways a homogenous group where moms are in this bucket, whereas dads cannot necessarily be put into the dad bucket like that. There's evidence from other research that has shown that people tend to view moms as this kind of specific group, and then dads are not necessarily a specific group.
Sure.
And what this research team did is that they found that when you give people information about the physiological or hormonal changes that occur when someone becomes a father, or the physical changes that happen to people when they become a father, that increases the sense of essentialism for fathers. So basically, it's like if you tell somebody, they did 2 studies essentially. So in the first one, they told people about the biological changes that occur when somebody becomes a father, like the hormonal changes that occur and stuff like that. And then they did a second study where they told people about the visible changes that happen when somebody becomes a father. So specifically, they used this example of, men getting dad bods when they become dads. And in both of those cases, learning about those changes increased the essentialism for fathers, which is kind of a net good thing, because it means that, like, you are beginning to create a picture of, like, mom traits and dad traits, and, like, able to, like, put dads into the kind of bucket of dad, the way that has historically only kind of been done for moms. And that's, like, good. Like, the example that they give at the beginning of the article, it's a super cool article, is, like, Beyonce did this performance where she talks about being a mom and how that's really important to her. And a lot of people were like, wow, what a great performance. But if Jay-Z did a performance where he was like, being a dad is really important to me, people would think that was kind of weird.
Ah, I see.
And so the idea is that if there's more of this idea of essentialism, where, like, being a dad can be an important part of the self-construct, that is, like, kind of good for society.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the way you can do that is by increasing and that's the argument they're making, is that part of the way you can do this is by being a father physically changes you in the way that being a mother physically changes you.
I don't think this is actually that related, but I was just thinking about how, like, people found it very strange that Tom Brady kissed his son on the lips, and I yeah, and
I think that's exactly like this.
Yeah, it was the first thing that popped in my brain as you were talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, people were really freaked out by that in a way that was, like, kind of surprising to me, just how freaked out people were by it.
I think there are still a lot of men who, like, have never heard their dad say they were proud of them, or, like, ever, like, been hugged by their dad.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is like even outside, like, the fatherhood thing, there's just, like, some weird, there is weirdness around, like, male affection, especially male on male affection in general, and also, like, male on male affection.
Well, that's the interesting thing too, is that, like, I think a lot of men, because they think that they're gonna look like they're, like, pedophiles, frankly. Like, my brother has always been really weird around, like, not always, since my brother has become an adult, he, like, will not interact with, like, babies, even, like, the babies who are family members, and he's just kind of like, it's kind of weird when, like, an adult man tries to play with a kid. And it's like,
it's just so odd.
And it's like, why? But I think that's in that, like, vein of toxic masculinity where it's like, fellas, is it gay to hang out with your son?
Yeah. My brother hangs out with his son all the time. He loves hanging out with Bozeman.
I will say that his name does sound like a fake name.
My nephew?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, like, it's like,
he's just a baby. He didn't pick it.
I know, but, like, you know how, like, sometimes, like, influencers online, they, like, don't want to name their kids, so they're like, me and Chimichanga were hanging out today.
Oh, yeah.
And people are like, oh, like, what? Your kid's name isn't Chimichanga? And people are like, no, it's just the name that they use online so people can't, like, find who their kid is. Like, that's what like, his name sounds like, is that it's like, oh, like, it sounds like you're just naming, like, the place where they live and calling that his name.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to come up with a name for your fake influencer child right now, what would the fake name you give that baby be?
Grape juice.
Me and GJ. Me and GJ hanging out.
Yeah. Grape juice.
Mine was beverage.
Hey, I love that. Let me, I just want to show you something while we're talking about my nephew. I'm just doing aunt shit right now. This will not be in the show notes. No one gets to see this because I would feel weird about doing that. But look at him.
Him's round.
Look at him.
Him's so round. I love how round he is.
And Emmy's just like, what the fuck? Emmy's like, dude, just fucking eat your food. What are you doing?
Because she's smart.
I know, she's a good girl.
So, a little bit of a weird episode today. I don't have, like, a major monologue. I guess
I'm sorry, I've set a precedence by making everyone monologue at the end of the episodes. Everyone, me and you, the two people who host this podcast.
I guess my main thing is that when I say, oh yeah, I think Randy Marsh is hot, and people laugh, I'm always a little bit taken aback. And I think it just reminds me that attraction is something that is so personal and so complex that when I actually try to articulate why I am attracted to Randy Marsh, I end up on these, like, academic research rabbit holes trying to understand what attraction even is. And at the end of the day, sometimes people are just hot. Sometimes Randy Marsh is just sexy.
I also think there's, like, a thing too of, like, the way that we react to people saying they are attracted to someone that you don't personally understand can feel very much like a personal attack on yourself, of being like, because there's, like, a what the fuck is wrong with you element to it that, like, I don't think people always necessarily even mean, but I think we can take it very personally of being like, oh, something wrong with me for finding this person or, like, character attractive. And it's like, probably no, but also maybe, like, I do think obviously this whole podcast is about, like, digging into things, and it's like, yeah, like, when people are like, yeah, I just really think that Jeffrey Dahmer's so sexy, I'm like, let's talk about that, because that's scary. Maybe that's scary.
Like, yeah, like, you should not be attracted to certain things, and that is certain, right? Like, you should not be attracted to, like, children. But, like, beyond, like, in the realm of, like,
this is the replacement of McKenna's fuck ice corner this week is the corner which we're like, hey, by the way, the Epstein files, question mark?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand that it's really easy to, like, laugh when somebody is like, hear me out, and it's like, Toucan Sam.
Right.
And also, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit telling about what our society has defined as attractive.
There are some also, like, okay, I think there's hear me outs that are like funny to laugh at, haha. And then there's hear me outs that if someone said it to me, I'd be like, hey, so you want to have sex with a kid? Listen, someone saying that they're attracted to Randy Marsh, not worried about it. Someone goes, I'm really attracted to Kyle from South Park. I might have some questions.
There's so much gay fan art of the South Park kids, Mackenna, you don't even understand. It is.
I mean, it's the same shit that I got into when I got on my whole, like, bunny high horse, where I was like, at what level is this, like, you wanting to actually have sex with rabbits? Like, at what level is it this, and at what level is it not that? And I think it's, like, the same thing with, like, so South Park kids aren't even a good example, but when you have, like, you know, like, the anime girls who are, like, canonically fucking 14, and it's like, at what level do you want to have sex with a fucking kid?
Well, or they're like, I'm a dragon who's 1,000 years old, but I look like I'm 12.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know about that. Like, that's a trope. That's a trope in literally the Fire Emblem games.
I can't remember if we talked about it on this podcast, if there was a conversation I just sidebar had with AJ, or if listening to your friend's podcast, even though you're not on their podcast, means that sometimes you conflate conversations you had with them with things that they said on their podcast. But I have some memory of, I think, AJ talking about, like, the vampire problem of, like...
Yes, that was in our episode.
Okay, but that's why you have to make them, like, 400. Because if you just make them, like if Edward Cullen was just, like, 50-something...
That was the point I made!
Oh, my God, okay. I'm sorry to attribute a comment Aubrey made to a man.
No, that was a hilarious thing that I said.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes, if Edward Cullen was 50, everyone would be like, what the fuck?
But so because he's like 100-something, then it's fine.
What I want to know is, like, what is the cutoff? Like, if he's like, because I think if he's like, I'm 75, we're all like, ugh.
We're still like, ew, what the fuck?
But if he's like, I think the lowest limit is in the 90s.
I think it needs to be like, there needs to be no shot that he would have been alive at the same time as her had he not been a vampire. That's what I genuinely think it is. I think the only way for it to be not weird is for him to, like, because that's the thing. It's like he's like theoretically born in, like, the year 1900. He died during the Spanish flu, right?
Yeah.
Or not, like the year 1910. And so it's like, I guess theoretically they could have been alive this.
Because that's the thing, right? Okay.
I don't know.
Because, like, we're in agreement that 100 is appropriate, 80 is not,
no,
90 still feels not.
Still feels weird. I don't know. I think
90. I think 95. Is that the threshold?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because if I'm thinking Edward Cullen, I'm 95 years old. Okay, yeah, that's all right. I'm 90 years old. Ugh. Because, like, your grandpa, you know? Like, yeah. I think 95, because if a regular person is 95, you're like, wow, like, you should be dead.
So this is Aubrey's canonical opinion, is that if you're 95 years old, you then regain the ability to have sex with 17-year-olds. Then it's fine.
Never say never.
Have a question or a topic that you would like for us to discuss, send us an email at informedattraction@gmail.com. And also call your reps about the Epstein files and abolishing ICE. That's our other action for the week.